right, we're back in action with the latest episode of the Athlete Connection. Got my guy, kind of a new contact, but definitely excited to kind of chat with you and hear your story, get some additional perspective. But we have Mr. CJ Cooper. Take that off. So what's up, CJ?
How you guys doing?
Good, good. So super excited to kind of chat with you, kind of like I said, learn your story, get to know you a little bit better, but obviously most importantly, see what you have to kind of share and impart to obviously our listeners. So before we get started, again, kind of kicking off every episode with really the reason why we have this podcast, and it's hopefully to kind of connect future athletes with former collegiate and professional athletes, so that way they can kind of get some firsthand insight on really what it's like to kind of go through the experiences that they're looking to kind of start off with or really kind of experience. So, again, I introduce yourself, but just tell everybody a little bit about yourself, obviously where you're from, where you play, all the above.
Okay. My name is CJ Cooper. I have a pretty good story, pretty long story, I guess, in the basketball business. But I'm from Chino, California, Inland Empire. Went to high school at Laverne Lutheran High School. A lot of people don't know that about that high school. It's a small private school in Laverne, in the Pomona area. About 150 students at the time. But it was a big basketball school. I think at the time we had seven Division I players, one McDonald's All American. So, it was a pretty fun experience in that aspect of the basketball aspect. And then from there, I went to University of Texas El Paso (UTEP). Played basketball there for 4 years under Tim Floyd. Um, Once I graduated there, I played overseas for a year in Sweden and Europe. And then once I came back, I got right into the coaching game and coached 2 years at UTEP again and got my master's degree. So that was a big blessing for me to be able to do that. And then once I finished that, I moved back out here to Southern California. And then I've been at J. Sarah High School in San Juan Capistrano, Orange County, for the past 5 years. So it's going on my fifth year. I've been doing that, and I love it. Being in the high school field and being able to coach high school kids, and also starting my own company and business and training younger kids, the youth kids, third through eighth graders and middle schoolers, and high schoolers as well. So I'm doing a lot, and now I'm here.
That's awesome, man. So obviously you went to a pretty unique, prestigious high school, if you will. Like, talk a little bit about that experience, and at what point did you know you wanted to actually compete at the next level? Like, and what did it take to help you get to UTEP or reach that level at the collegiate level?
Yeah, I think I knew pretty early that playing in college was something I wanted to do. Probably when I was about 12 years old, 11, 12 years old. My uncle was my high school coach and was my coach before that. And my uncle had a big time AAU program called Quick Shot, where we had one of the best teams in the country. At 12 years old, I think we won AAU nationals at 12 years old. Matter of fact, in Virginia Beach. And as we went through middle school, a few of us all decided to go to the same high school that my uncle was coaching at, which was Laverne Lutheran. So we all went there and became a powerhouse pretty quickly. And it was pretty crazy, just going to a small school with 150 students. That was different for me. I never was really in a really small high, school environment like that. Especially in high school, you don't really see that. But basketball wise, it was totally different. We were traveling. We played in the East Coast, Midwest. We were going everywhere like we were a college team. So that was a crazy experience. So for me, I was pretty. I think that prepared me to go to college. Honestly, just being able to travel, play against top competition throughout the country. And that definitely prepared me for college for sure.
Yeah, talk about unique experience. Like, I don't even think I started traveling like that, maybe till I was like 13, 14.
Right,
So, I mean, once you're already doing that, at
right,
that level and a kind of veteran, that's cool. So, like, how do
right.
you think that helped shape your recruiting experience, or, that time period when you started to kind of prepare for, what college you were going to go to and all those things?
Yeah, I mean, for me, my recruitment process was a little different. Mine didn't start till I had a couple schools early on in high school just because we were so big. I committed to San Diego State as a sophomore. Um, and that was my first offer, and then I was committed there, and I decommitted, and kind of once I decommitted from there, my recruitment wasn't really high at all, and then it really didn't pick up until the end of my high school career, and I ended up getting a lot of schools at that time, lower level, mid level, um, but for me, I just wanted to get kind of away from home, try something different, and for me, because I've traveled at a younger age and been around to different places, I felt like I was ready to, be able to go somewhere different and not just stay home. So the recruiting process was fun because I was able to go to different places and look at different schools in other areas, East Coast, Midwest, all those kind of places. So in the down south. So it was good for me to be able to try something new, and I think that's why I chose UTEP because it was something different. I didn't want to be in California. I wanted to try, something different in a different state. So El Paso was a great place for me, and that's why I chose it.
Yeah, that's full gamut, right? You kind of get that whole experience of, going somewhere, not going somewhere. Like, what do you think influenced your decision to initially commit to San Diego State, only to, decommit? And maybe starting off, like, what does that even mean when you commit to someone? Like, what does that take before you even got to that point?
Yeah, for me that was a crazy story, I guess you could say. In time, I was a sophomore in high school, and we had a tournament in San Diego, a big tournament in San Diego, and I ended up just doing very well. And in that tournament, San Diego State happened to be at every game that we played at, and they offered me on the spot right after or during that time, and that's when Steve Fisher was the coach. He's a Hall of Fame coach. Um, and at that time, I'm like, look, like if that's a Hall of Fame coach coming up to me at the time, San Diego State I took an unofficial up there, and I was just like, I don't see why I wouldn't come
Yeah,
here.
that's it. That's the one.
Yeah, exactly.
Right.
So, I think I just felt like it was right, and I committed, as a sophomore. And then as you go through high school, you see how the recruiting process is and how they recruit, and and it was different. So for me, I felt like, look, like I'm still young. I see they have a lot of recruits before me that they're worried about. And for me, I was like, look, I could just, that I'll still keep them as an option, but I kind of want to see other schools out there and, see where else I could get and, what other looks I can get as well. So that's the reason why I decommitted, and initially why the reason why I did commit was because of that.
So, you said you got to experience what that recruiting was like. Like, talk a little bit about that. Describe that. Like, what did that look like for you? What did you go through? What were coaches? How were they approaching you? Like, what was that experience like?
Yeah, so for me, I mean, you see at playing at a high level, especially, you see, how recruiting really goes. Playing with a lot of high level guys and against a lot of high level guys, you see college coaches and how they recruit and how they recruit those players. So being at that high level and playing with those kind of guys, um, I got to see like, oh, San Diego State's not the only school that's recruiting me at that position. There's about a lot of other guys that they're recruiting that are older than me, not just my age.
But what were
So
what were they doing? Like, what are the things? Some of the things that they would do? Were they like reaching out to you directly? Were they coming with you like offers off the bat? Like, what were they
oh no.
doing?
Oh yeah, yeah, yeah. So no, it wasn't no offers off the bat. It was just more just contact. You would get some phone calls, and being a high school athlete, you got to know like you learn how to be. You got to be consistent. If you're consistent, that's how schools really um are on you, and will offer you, if you're more and more consistent as they come and see you. They're going to see you more than once. They might come one time and be like, okay, we like this guy, and they'll come another time, and then if you keep doing what you're doing, they're like, okay, then we see he's consistent, we see that he could probably play at that level and at our school, and I think that for me, that's what was big for me, is consistency. I was always consistent, so I think when schools saw that, um, all these other schools started coming, and then that's when offers start coming. Once they see you a few times, a couple times, and you're consistent with what you're doing, then that's how offers come.
That's perfect. So yeah, you're consistent. You start to get on San Diego State's radar, then everyone else's radar, then it kind of builds a domino effect kind of from there. So
Exactly.
what ultimately you mentioned, obviously you wanted to kind of get away from home a little bit. Like what helped you in deciding that you wanted to go to UTEP?
First and foremost, I think was the coach. Tim Floyd was the head coach at the time, and previously before that, he was the head coach at USC with DeMar DeRozan and OJ Mayo and those guys. So I grew up watching USC at that time when they were very good. So,
Yeah, it's a fire team. That was a
right,
powerhouse. Yeah,
exactly, and he was the head coach at the time. So he ended up going to the NBA for a year when he left USC, and then ended up getting a UTEP job. So for me, here getting a phone call from him, growing up and seeing him coach those USC teams was like, I was like, wait, hey, if he's calling me, then I have to really like, that's going to be a choice.
yeah. Pay attention to it for real.
Right, right,
Right.
exactly. So, and building a relationship with him during the recruiting process um, was big. And then actually taking a visit to El Paso and seeing the city and um, in El Paso, there's no pro team, no pro basketball team. So they get about 8 or 9 thousand a game. So it's like, playing in a pro atmosphere. So everybody in the city knows who you are. So for me, I'm like, if I could do that, go somewhere else and be in a city like that, I would love to do it. So that just the coaching and just the city in general, those are two big things why I chose El Paso.
That's cool. Yeah, man. So fast forward your freshman year, what was it like, taking your first steps onto campus? Like, what was that experience like? What are some of the things that you had to do that you went through, or some of the things that maybe you just didn't expect to happen that you kind of experienced?
Uh, the freshman year was tough. Freshman year was tough, but I think a lot of people go through those growing pains during their freshman year. But for me, um, you learn everybody is good. You're not the only good one on the team. Everybody was the
Facts.
top guy on their high school team, or guys who have been there for 2 or 3 or 4 years and, are already veterans. So going into that, I learned that quickly. Also, physically, it's a lot different. Physically, the quickness and everything else that goes along with it. So I figured that out very quickly and figured out that I have to really get in that gym and work, and especially that weight room, if I want to be able to compete and at this level and be able to sustain myself and be successful.
Yeah, that's so true. Like that's that time where you realize like this is the transition that's going to take place. Like the expectation has changed from here to now here. So,
Yep.
um, so going through that freshman year, you obviously experienced those things. Like what do you think maybe you learned, or maybe the most important thing that you kind of captured from that freshman year, maybe transitioning, from the beginning, maybe to the end of that, in the completion of your freshman year.
Yeah, for me, I really just learned how to really work on my own time and time management. Once you're in college, you're on your own. You don't have your parents there with you to tell you to go to the gym or tell you to do this and that. It's really on your own. So you could decide to do it or not do it. So for me, luckily, I was raised to always work hard. So I was always in the gym, and I figured out I had to be in the gym. um, I saw guys who didn't work, and the result of that, and what happens when you don't work. So for me, I was able to work and keep working even when things weren't going right. I was mentally tough, and I think that's what helped me get through everything and get through that year, and just keep getting better.
Yeah, that's so true. You gotta figure out like there's times where it's not always just about you and the team. Like you spend a lot of time
Right,
individually doing things that I think that's where the most development takes place, right? Like outside
right.
of, that 90 minutes to 2 hours of practice, like you're on your own figuring out how to manage your time. And that applies academically too.
Oh,
Um, did you have anyone to kind of help guide you when you first stepped on campus, or was that kind of one of those things that you actively kind of had to learn and seek out to kind of find a mentor, or really just to start kind of networking to figure out, not even networking, but really just partnering with people to kind of make sure, like,
no.
hey, how do I navigate through this? Like, what are your thoughts on that?
No, like so I tell my high school guys or just all my players in general this all the time. For me, I started off like you brought up academics. academically, I started out bad. I tell them all this. I started out with a 1.6 my first semester, 1.6. And I think they sent a letter to my house and my mom, like I'm in danger of losing my scholarship. And my mom was like, look, I'm not, I'm not having this. So for me, I think just seeing that, it made me, look at things differently. Um, and it made me realize, like, look, I have to buckle down, I have to work, I have to use my time wisely. So for me, what I did, I used tutors, because for me, I knew I wasn't a guy who was gonna go home and do my homework, right when it was assigned. So for me, uh I use my tutors. I would, assign tutors for this time to help me do my homework so I could get it done and turn it in. And then I would, go to the gym when I had extra time, on my own time when I wasn't with the team. So um, I had to just buckle down and just learn from the mistakes I made in the beginning, and just, keep going on and keep getting better and not go the other way. So I think that first semester for me and not doing good showed me a lot, and I was able to buckle down and turn the right way.
Yeah, that's right. I mean, because everybody, like you said, everyone has their own sort of come to Jesus moment where you're like, oh
Right.
man, like academically, college is a different beast.
It is.
Athletically, college is a different beast, and being able to kind of navigate how to manage both of those, to kind of figure out, your routine, what works for you, and then be able to kind of meet that expectation. Like it's a tall task that, not everybody is, built for. So I think
Right.
you're right. Like it's important to kind of figure out, who's in your corner, how can they help you, be the best person you can and then be the best athlete you can. Like that's so important. Um,
Exactly.
so, how was the rest of your experience, post that freshman year? Like, did it get a little bit easier for you, or like what are those things that you kind of had to, stick to or really kind of focus on to continue kind of prepare yourself for your, your professional career that obviously you we're going to get to next?
Yeah. I think after that freshman year, and maybe a little bit of my sophomore year, which I was a little struggle, but not as much. But after that, I pretty much loved the rest of my time in college. Because I think just that whole freshman year just prepared me for the rest of my time. I was able to manage my time wisely. I always worked, but I also found time to have fun with my friends. I built good relationships with my teammates, people outside of my team. People around the city. Um, and I think that's what made me love the city even more because I was able to explore and meet new people. Um, and if I think my freshman year I didn't do that, and I think that's why I was kind of like, I don't know if El Paso is the place for me, and I was kind of sheltered, didn't do much, but I think once I was able to get out and meet new people, built better relationships with my teammates. I think after that everything was smooth. Um, and till this day I'm best friends with a few of my teammates. So I think that's just a big thing, that a lot of people don't realize either is just building those relationships and networking with those people in college.
Yeah, I mean, that's one of the benefits, like obviously being an athlete like that, that circle is so small. So fast forward to your professional career, like what was that like? Again, like what did you have to do prepare for that, or how did you get to that point to where you were able to kind of have that opportunity?
Yeah, so for me, after college, I knew I wasn't probably going to be an NBA guy. So for me, I hired an agent that was already in Europe. In that process, he just trying to find some teams in Europe for me to play, and pretty early he found a team in Sweden that I could go to, and for me, Sweden sounded great because and it was great. Sweden is a great country. They speak English, which helped me out for my first year being overseas. I was able to just, it was much easier for me. Everybody was nice. It was just a great country. Everything was nice. It was nothing to really talk down upon. Really, everything was great for me in that aspect. But basketball wise, that's a whole different beast. You're going from another level. You go from high school to college, that's a different level, but going from college to a pro level is a lot different as well. Now you're with grown men who have families who, are playing to feed families, and not just go to school. So um
It's not a hobby anymore or the cool thing. Like
that,
it's a legit job. You know what I
it's a
mean?
legit job. And for me, that's where I struggled coming in because I'm fresh out of college, 20, 21, 22 years old, expecting to kind of do what I did in college, and I didn't approach it the right way, like a pro. I came in approaching like it was college, and I learned very quickly, but I was able to adjust, and that goes, um, I was able to adjust to it like I feel like I can with pretty much anything. But, that was a great experience for me to have for sure.
And I think what you said is key, like adjusting and adapting, right? It doesn't matter what level you're at, whether you're a, a current kid playing, a travel sport or high school or college, like there's always that moment where you kind of have to evaluate, then adjust, right? Then figure out how you're going to respond. And I think that's how you become successful, right? I mean, it doesn't really matter what level. Um,
Exactly.
so, you know, fast forward now, obviously you transition, like how did you transition into the coaching side of thing coming out of, such a early career, I would say, because you're
Right.
obviously still pretty young when you decided to stop playing. So what was that like for you and kind of what influenced your decision to do that?
Yeah, that's also an interesting story. For me, when I came back from playing in Sweden, I was still in that mode of, am I still going to try to go somewhere else and play different country? So I was still working out, and as I was working out, my uncle has a prep school that he has, and I was kind of just helping him coach his prep school team. And he had a few Division I guys, and my coach Tim Floyd at UTEP was recruiting one or two of them, and he came down, and I had a talk with him, and he kind of told me like, hey, look, like, I'm gonna be honest with you, I don't think you're gonna be a guy who is gonna make millions of dollars playing basketball. And for me, I took that the right way, and I felt like, look, like, he's probably right, like, I'm not gonna be making millions of dollars, so
Right.
kind of, I think he was trying to get me to get into that coaching aspect, because after that he was like, well, I have a position open on the staff if you want to come in and start coaching now, and I can get you your master's for free, all that kind of stuff. And in 10 years when you're coaching still, your friends who, when they stop playing, are going to be looking at you for jobs, coaching jobs. And I was like, if you look at it that way, yeah, that could probably be true. So for me, um, I just decided to start coaching, and it's Division I level, so why not do that, and get my master's for free. So um, I just wanted to go that route. I've always wanted to coach anyway when I was done playing, so I felt like that was a way to go, and being able to do that was a big blessing, and I was, blessed for him to give me that opportunity to be able to do that at that level so early. So, and I think that's helped me out to where I am now.
Yeah, that's so right. You're spot on. I mean, just without saying, like, it's so important to networking and don't burn bridges because you never know, who's going to remember you down the line or who's going to have that opportunity for you that, if you burn that bridge or you're not maybe taking that opportunity to kind of establish those relationships, like, you're not really doing yourself any favors in the future. So that's awesome. So obviously now, Coach CJ, now have your own business coaching at J Sarah. Like, what are some things that you're kind of looking to impart or instill in your athletes coming up, as you see, in their eyes, kind of that same spark or that same, joy that they have, obviously that you went through.
Right. So I mean, that's why I got into this the high school side, because I just want to give all the kids the same thing that I got growing up, playing at a high level. Um, so just being able to give these kids at a young age that that knowledge and all that stuff, and being able to grow up with that, can help them through the high school level, through if they want to play at the next level, it'll help them through that level, but not only on the basketball court, but just off the court as well. All that knowledge I still take from my uncle and my dad and my other coaches who've coached me before. I take some of that stuff off the court as well. Like I brought up time management, being on time to things, being respectful, always talking to people, meeting new people, communicating, those type of things that could always take you a long way in life periods. So I try to teach all that, just not all stuff on the court, so just being able to make those kids well-rounded, and being able to, do all those kind of things, not only in basketball. If they want to do something else besides basketball, then they can do that, and we can still teach them things that could help them, in whatever they want to do.
Yeah, and you're so right. And I mean, kind of bringing that back full circle, we talked about recruiting. Like, I know personally, and I'm sure you know, like those are things that those coaches, scouts are looking to find out, like how well-rounded of a person are you are, let alone an athlete. So, I mean, that's dope that you're, given that information off the top. So, as we wrap up, I don't know if you've checked out any of the podcasts, but I always like to end off with these last couple of questions. But if you would have to do it all over again, and this is you talking to young CJ or doing it all over again, like what would you do differently and why?
Oh, for me, I know I'll get in that weight room for sure. I'll get in that weight room because when I was in high school, I was 6 feet, 155 pounds going into college, and 155 pounds playing at a Division I level is very small.
You're getting
So
bodied.
right, right, right when I got there, I'm like, look, I gotta get in that weight room. So I learned that very quickly. But for me, luckily, I was able to gain some weight and put it on, pretty early. If I had to do all over again, I'll say get in that weight room. Also, probably work focus harder in school as well. That's why I tell the kids that now. For me, I couldn't accept a lot of scholarships because of my GPA and my grades. But it really wasn't because I wasn't smart. It's just because I wasn't, I didn't have my mind towards school. I was being lazy. I just it was mostly just being lazy. But for me, that's why I preach on working hard and in the classroom, and so you can accept those scholarships that you want to accept if you get those. You don't want to have to get a scholarship offer and not be able to accept it because of your grades. So I think those two are the most important things that I probably would have done differently. If I had to do it all over again.
That's awesome. And you answered my question, what advice would you give any future athletes kind of following? I mean, that's the same thing, like just making sure that you're doing the work. It's a short time sacrifice that'll kind of have that long-term impact. So that's
Exactly.
dope that you said that. So cool, man. So like tell everybody, talk a little bit about your company, obviously what you do, how anyone can reach you if they have any questions, tell us a little bit more about that.
Okay, yeah. So right now, outside of the high school, I have a travel ball program where we do, not only travel ball teams, but we do workouts for youth kids. So we have youth workouts 3 times a week for first through eighth graders, all the way through. So we do that, just skill work, just teaching them the fundamentals of basketball and stuff like that. And then we have teams where we have teams from fourth, fifth, sixth, seventh, and eighth grade, all the way through. We have high school teams as well, travel ball teams. That this is our first year actually doing it, but it actually has been pretty successful during this first year. We had 4 or 5 teams this year, which was pretty good for us. Um, and we're just continuing to grow. So right now, we do not have a website. We are currently working on that now. We'll probably have it up by next week. But we do everything pretty much through Instagram. Our Instagram is DNC basketball underscore academy. That's the name of our program, DNC Basketball Academy. So yeah, we're looking to grow. It's our first year doing it, but it's been successful, and we're looking to grow it and keep going as years go by.
That's cool, man. Well, I appreciate you hopping on. Definitely looking forward to staying connected and linking up with you as well. And that's a wrap. Like I said, I
Okay.
appreciate you taking the time. For everyone who's listening, watching, definitely feel free to reach out to us at Tri Elements Fitness or CJ if you guys have any questions, thoughts, comments, concerns. You can also check out our website at the bottom of the screen. And other than that, appreciate you guys taking the time, and we'll catch you on the next episode.
All right.